Welcome into the PHNX Cardinals podcast, presented to you by the DraftKings Sportsbook app, America's top-rated sportsbook. Be sure to like, subscribe, leave us a 5-star wherever you get your podcasts. Johnny Venerable, Bo Brock, Damien Anderson, Frank Sanders. Have a nice season, LA Rams. It's over for you at 3-7, losing to the Arizona Cardinals today.
Whoa. They're 3-6.
They're 3-6.
Yeah, but they just took a hard L.
You didn't let me get through that. I just
wanted to dance. Here.
I wanted to dance on their grave, even though I was off a game. The LA Rams, big time, fraudulent Super Bowl winners. You got your title. You just lost to Colt McCoy at home by the final score of 27-17. And gentlemen, we are here to break it all down. We are so fired up to be here with you on the post-game show. Comments are rolling in. People questioning Kyler Murray's future with this team. Should they trade him? How good was Colt McCoy? That's what I want to start with you, Bo Brock.
Colt McCoy did a great job under center in the shotgun for the Arizona Cardinals. I would have to say that this was the most complete game all season long for the Arizona Cardinals, but also let's keep in mind it was against an inferior Rams team. The Rams are not who they used to be. They were not the team that hoisted the Lombardi Trophy. They've dealt with just numerous issues on the offensive line. They didn't have their starting quarterback. Their backup quarterback was not as good as the Arizona Cardinals quarterback that came in Colt McCoy and did a fantastic job from the very jump, leading them downfield to a field goal to open up the game. I mean, I thought what we saw from Colt McCoy is what we saw last year. Colt McCoy, 3-1 as Arizona Cardinals starter. Frank Sanders, you got to love it.
I love it a lot.
That's
it.
That's all you got to say.
That's all I have, man.
I mean, that's it. No, guys. I mean, that's what they get paid the big bucks for. I mean, so many times we've seen quarterback, backup quarterback get, double, multi-million-dollar deals, and you're like, why? Why? And then Colt gets in the game, and you see, in comparison to, they were rotating, backup quarterbacks at one time, that being the Rams.
Yeah.
And to see Colt go out there and some, confidence. He'd been playing the game. I couldn't believe he was 36 years old. He'd been playing the game for a minute, to go out there and have composure, and he just got he spread the ball around, and he just showed a command of the offense that I don't think that we've seen in a variety that we've seen. Going on a center, different looks. I mean, they just look balanced, and they didn't look rushed at all. They look solid.
Let me ask you gentlemen this. We saw Colt leave the game with a lower body injury, maybe a hamstring, and then they kind of went nowhere fast with Trace McSorley, who did two quick handoffs.
Yeah.
If Colt McCoy does not come back in this game, do they win this game?
I mean, that's a great question. Thank God we don't have to actually, talk about that breakdown, what that looked like the rest of the way. I mean, Trace McSorley, here's a guy that had to come into the game second and 22, second forever on your own 8-yard line.
Yeah.
I mean, nobody wants to come over in that situation. It's a lose-lose. So, but the fact that Colt McCoy could get out there, I don't know if he had the MJ special drink from Space Jam.
Yes.
Got him ready for that? I have no
Paul
idea.
Pierce.
Yeah. Paul Pierce? Yeah. It was a little bit more serious than that. Having to go take a number 2 in the restroom. But look, also, I mean, big tip of the cap to the Arizona Cardinals offensive line. It was a mix between Colt McCoy getting the ball out quick and knowing what to do with the football, and this offensive line holding Aaron Donald, who we expected to be a game wrecker, at bay. He had 1 quarterback hit this entire game, 2 sacks from this Cardinals patchwork offensive line. I mean, huge performance from him. I know we got the DraftKings King of the Game coming up later. Are they in the mix? Colt McCoy in the mix? Ton of guys in the mix. Frank, I got to love what Colt did in distributing the football, but also relying on his 1 and 2 guys heavily in DeAndre Hopkins and Rondale Moore.
D-Hop's just a little shy of 100 yards, but a lot of effective catches down the road. Kept the ball moving, kept the chains moving, as you would like to say.
Yeah.
Rondale Moore made some catches that I thought was pretty exciting too, my man.
Absolutely.
But again,
no, real quick. I know our own GM Saul just said in the chat. I thought it was a great perspective in that they didn't call any screens today. So was this Kliff being Kliff?
They also ran under center a decent amount, and they booted Colt McCoy, and that's something that Cardinal fans, we hear up here every week, say we need to become a little bit more conventional with Kyler Murray. Are those just things that you guys think Kyler Murray can't do or doesn't want to do? I don't think that's the case. I think Kyler Murray would go under center, but it's frustrating because it does open up so much more of your offense.
But I agree with that, but I got to go back to Bo's earlier point. You got everything's with context, right? It was the Rams, but they didn't have these deficiencies that we talk about with backup quarterbacks on the defensive side of the ball.
But they've been pretty good
still
this
had
year.
Aaron Donald.
They've been pretty good defensively.
No, that's my point. They still had Aaron Donald, and to go down with confidence, not run any screens.
Yeah.
Get a variety of players the ball, not focus on one. I think that has to do with how they utilize Kyler Murray, but maybe it's a feedback thing. You know what I mean? And maybe Kliff needs to take more of a, assertive role in his relationship with Kyler. Like, hey, we're going to do this because this works. It gives us allows us to be multi-dimensional, right? Which we don't see when it's bubble screen, take a shot to D-Hop. We'll try to Rondale Moore for 3 or 4 or 5 yards, maybe a reverse pass for, -2 or 3. I'm just saying, that's based on the knee-jerk reaction, right? Data would say otherwise, but you could just tell the offense felt different today, guys.
It did. It just felt like you saw positive yard after yard positive yardage, right? I mean, it wasn't, first down, get a negative play or no yardage, being second and long, right? And then try to make up for that, make up whatever yardage you lost for a self-inflicted wound or a negative play, a screen that gets blown up on first down. I mean, it just seemed like this offense was just moving forward the entire game. And a tip of the cap, to the coaching staff. And I know people don't like that, because Kliff is a 4-letter word around here these days.
He is.
But, I thought that if anything, and I don't want to get too entrenched in this quarterback controversy because I'm not going to buy hook, line, and sinker into it. But I think that this game, guys, this puts things in perspective for Kyler Murray. It puts him in a different spot to watch the game, watch another guy run this offense, and maybe puts him in a better position going forward, watching from the sidelines.
Well, but that's one thing, being a parent, that you hope so, right? You hope, you hope that he learns, you hope that he grows, and you hope that he sees like, well, damn, I'm not doing that. Damn, I'm not doing that. Damn, that worked. And hopefully Kyler and Kliff both saw what the offense can be in utilizing their, some of their strengths or doing different things and not being in shotgun, every series, going under center. I mean, we saw bootlegs. With McCoy, where he, didn't throw the ball, he kept it and got a first down. I mean, it was just the variety of offense, and he was crisp in his decision making, and it wasn't, with the exception of a couple drops, that he wasn't, 100% completion rates. I mean, he did well, and hopefully, Bo, to your question, hopefully that Kyler learns and grows and Kliff sees what this offense can do. And it's not about you being comfortable, bud. It's about this offense being elite, and we need to do more with you.
I just think the interior offensive line deserves a shout out. They're doing multiple combinations. Rashard, what's his name? Crawford and
you don't even know his name. If Johnny don't know your name, kudos. If Johnny don't know your name, kudos.
He played his ass off today. They rotated him and Cody Ford, who had been battling an illness. Billy Price, we jinxed it. We're like, damn, Billy Price is playing a good game, and then he, miscues a snap. They were fine, and you know what? That's good enough because I anticipated this game looking like a bloodbath, 6-7 sacks, especially if Kyler Murray played on a limited ankle. I do think that this team right now needs to take a note from this game plan moving forward. Regardless how the rest of the season goes, we're not sure. I would say Rams have one of the better fronts that we've seen this year. You got to keep going north and south. You got to churn out positive yards, because where the Cardinals have been so susceptible to getting sacks, gentlemen, is when they try the gimmicky shit, the screen passes, right? And then all the penalties that come with what we've seen up until this game. So then they're in second and third and long, and then they can't convert. What was the nice thing that we saw today is, the Cardinals didn't score on every possession. They had to punt. They had to play field position, but it never felt like, outside of that one play where Kliff got gimmicky on 3rd and 15 and it was a screenplay call, it never felt like the Cardinals didn't have an opportunity to at least conservatively pick up second and third downs. And that was great to see. And if you're Kliff Kingsbury, Kyler Murray is not going anywhere. For anybody questioning whether or not he's going to be dealt, of course not. They made an investment in him. They're going to make it work for better or worse. He's got millions of dollars in dead cap if they ever were to move him. You need to take a hard look in the mirror and say, we need to take a page out of what worked today. And in my opinion, that was going north and south, not east and west.
Yeah, for sure.
The effectiveness of the offense is really what, when you go back and look at, you're going to ask yourself, was it Colt? Did Kliff do something different?
I think it was doing something different.
Was it Kyler, and Kyler not seeing the reads? Because you can go back and probably watch the same game.
You watch Hard Knocks.
I mean, you can watch, and you can see that there's some things that he's missing that slows the offense down, or it doesn't allow Kliff to get into those next progressions of second and third down play calls that he wants to use. And he might. I think every offensive coordinator and every offensive-minded coach is setting up the defense. That's been our concern. The scheme hasn't looked like it's been trying to set up anything. Well, maybe because it was so ineffective, but then when you see that it can be effective, he threw the ball 11 times in the first series, and that in itself says, so that means they kept the ball going. They was able to be effective that way. And I think what we saw today, man, was that just offensively, the O-line did a great job. But did you ever put him in a bad spot? There was never the pat, sit back and pat the ball a whole bunch. It was get the ball out of his hands very fast, and it was effective versus a very good secondary.
I mean, he threw the ball 37 times. It didn't even feel like he threw the ball that many times. And you look up, they didn't run the ball that well. It was 26 of 78. And that, to me, is even more of a detriment to Kliff Kingsbury's play calling before this week, because they didn't run the ball effectively, and Colt McCoy had almost 40 attempts, and it looked better. It looked much more crisp and competent. And I feel like it's just a stigma that it's almost like he can't help himself with Kyler. Like he has to try all this gimmicky stuff because he knows Kyler is a game breaker, a playmaker, but he can't help himself and just say, I got to get Kyler easy completions. Yeah. We got to have rhythm passing. We got to have some conventional offense. We got to muddy up the game on the line of scrimmage, because you got an offensive line, gentlemen, that I thought built confidence as the game went on.
Yeah, and I think it was long overdue. I think when Colt McCoy comes into the game and to start the game like he did today, you simplify things, right? You simplify things for your backup quarterback. You simplify things for your playmakers, your offensive line. And this is something that the Arizona Cardinals offense should have been doing long ago, not because of Kyler Murray, just because the offense was going the wrong direction, right? I mean, just keep it simple, stupid sometimes. Get back to basics. I mean, all these self-inflicted penalties, everything that was getting in their way, I mean, it was a big-time problem for this Cardinals offense, and they simplified things, and it just looks a lot better now. I mean, as far as Colt McCoy, he has over a decade of NFL experience. He has the advantage of playing in so many different systems and seeing everything, where Kyler Murray's been in the same system since the jump. He's a guy that played 1 year legitimately of college football, where Colt McCoy was entrenched as a starter in Texas forever, played at Cleveland, played in Washington, and now is the backup here. I mean, I think that, we can't discount that, having all those years of experience and then being able to go in there and win a football game. But it's also, like I said, it gives Kyler perspective of seeing this offense run differently in an efficient manner, and what went into the just preparing for this game and then just game managing things. And then when it comes down to making a play, we saw Colt McCoy and Rondale Moore dial that up on 4th and 3 on a big fade pattern down the field. I mean, it had it all, right? And regardless if it's against a bad Rams team, it was a big win for the team. Second loss for Sean McVay against the Arizona Cardinals in his career. It's always nice to dish him that cold platter.
And what I'll say is that there's levels to this shit. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, there's a level with Colt McCoy is better than their two backup quarterbacks that they have. And then they're able to mitigate some of the issues. They can be a complete offense, whereas you saw the Rams where they're taking Bryce Perkins out or the starter and putting Bryce Perkins in for running situations. The Cardinals didn't have to do that. And given his experience, Bo, of playing in multitude of different offenses, nothing can surprise Colt McCoy because he's seen everything. And he's been at practice and he's been always available, especially, and I guarantee you he and Kliff had that conversation. Well, what do you like? Well, what do you want to do? What do you do well? And they had that conversation, just like as though that I feel that they have that conversation with Kyler. And I think that, to your point again, Bo, I think that hopefully they learn something from this and that they can grow as an offense and see, like, hey, although it was the Rams, defensively they were still solid, but I think that we're a little bit – are we underappreciating Vance Joseph this game? A little bit?
No, because I think we expected Vance to have success against John Wolford. I did. Well, I expected them to be held under 20 points. And you know what? The offense really never put them in a position with their backs against the wall. And what they have done in weeks prior is they were on the field the whole game, turnovers giving them short fields. Like, both sides played about as clean of a game as you can get. Fair. And I'm not making excuses for Kliff. I'm just saying, like, I have seen Kyler fumble the football and have errant throws and the offense go 3 and out. Like, outside of the first couple, possessions in the first quarter, the offense was picking up first downs. I want to get to the super chat. Isaiah Jones, get your take on this, gentleman. I believe this game was called so efficiently as Kliff knew Colt was going to follow exact orders. That's interesting. Only thing holding Kyler back, Bo, Damien, Frank, is attitude. What do you think about that?
I will agree in regards to just way he called the game was absolutely on point with what we think Colt was able to do. Not a lot of deep balls, no RPO type of stuff. Very strategic, right? Just get the ball out of your hand. 1, 2, 3. Find some good, and he made good throws. He put the ball on guys in good spots. Back shoulder throws are on point. Got the ball out of their hand pretty quick. And the player and the guys when I make plays. I always think that there's something about it as a former receiver when my quarterback is a pocket quarterback. I know that he can't run. So I'm going to run my route, and I know for a fact the ball's going to come out in a certain time frame. And that, to me, I think is it changes the attitude of the receiver because I'm not waiting for you to pat, not looking to see if you're going to run. If I run a great route and D-Hop says, "Hey, Kyle, I'm open." Well, I was open, but you was already out of the pocket running. So that, to me, that might affect my trust factor in what you're going to be. And I think sometimes when you got a pure pocket passing quarterback, the guys trust that a little bit more. They know exactly what he's going to do. The offensive line knows it's a 1,001, 1,002, 1,003 hold, and hold, and they know that's all they got. With Kyler, you might get 4, 5, 6 seconds because he has the scrambling ability. Attitude-wise, I think just once the guys felt like they had good rhythm, I think that was the difference maker. And then again, a new voice in the huddle changes sometimes the attitude of the guys. You got playmakers. The guys not making plays. Why is that happening? Again, once you find yourself on a roll, I mean, you can really see that taking place.
Guys, and just the game plan, the fact that, given the issues at offensive line, right? You thought that hey, maybe they're going to try and establish the run and take the ball away from the Rams. But to go multiple plays, 10 straight maybe, with, just no runs. And then you were like, and you were okay with it because they were getting first downs and moving the football, and you felt good with what Colt and Kliff was calling up because Colt was sharp with his decision making, and it is the Rams, and I think that you do feel good about it. And I just wonder if it's a situation and about the attitude. I can't speak on that, so I don't know. I think that every player is passionate and wants to be better, and Kyler winning at every level. I think that it becomes a situation where I think that Kliff is enamored by Kyler and maybe a little bit intimidated to tell him the truth in certain situations where Colt is like, I can just talk. He's a grown ass man. He's seen everything. Not that much pressure on him until it's time, right? And whereas Kyler, it's like, okay, well, we're going to try and make everything perfect and give what you want. And they're at a situation now where that isn't working, right, Johnny?
Yeah, and
you got to do more.
And if I'm Kliff Kingsbury, real quick, and I get fired at the end of the year, and I'm applying for head jobs or offensive coordinator jobs, right. I don't know if I'm taking the film with. I'm taking the 4 games I played with Colt McCoy, and I say I won 3 games, and I won all 3 of them on the road at divisional opponents. Think about that. He won at Seattle, at San Francisco last year. He's won at LA in a year calendar span with Colt McCoy. That's not everything, but it means something, Bo.
For sure. And absolutely. I want you guys to holster and think about something. Let it marinate for basically the whole show, and then we'll get to what our answers are. Who we think should start Monday night against the 49ers, Colt McCoy or Kyler Murray. Is that too much for you guys? Can you handle that question? I'm not saying full-blown quarterback controversy because that's too polarizing of a conversation here. Getting back to DA's point as far as what you hope Kyler Murray could pretty much gain from standing on the sidelines in this situation, watching McCoy run this offense, how Kliff works with McCoy and how McCoy works with his offensive line and his playmakers. Like what you hope from that, it's really going to be interesting. You hope that some sort of humbling happened, right? And it's not to, Kyler Murray's fault, right? Because Kyler Murray came in the number 1 pick, right? And he also he's coming off of a huge contract negotiation where the team pretty much had to cater to Kyler, right? So at some point, when things aren't going well, at the end of Hard Knocks, we hear J.J. Watt say, hey, take a long look at yourself in the mirror and then look deeper. And you hope that resonated with your franchise quarterback because I think that there's a lot to be gained in a winning fashion. This isn't off an L, for your franchise quarterback and Kyler Murray.
And we're going to hear about that. And we've heard about it ad nauseum this morning because people were upset. You see Josh Allen go out there. I know he didn't play his best game, but he battled into overtime with an elbow, and Kyler's got a hamstring.
Budda fucking Baker.
Well, we're going to get to that. But first, we want to talk to you about OGs. One of our favorites, Bo Brock, and all the great stuff they've got going on.
They've got it all, right? They've got the creams, they've got the fruits, they've got the minis, they've got the sleep time gummy, which is unreal. You got trouble falling asleep, they got a game changer for you. They got the Aquaberry Sleep Time Gummy, which helps you get to sleep and stay to sleep. If you're not trying to fall asleep, you want maybe more something, you're going out, you're going to have a fun night on the town, you're going to the Cards game, you got the fruits, you got the orange creamsicle, Frank. I know you're in for that.
Delicious.
It's OG brands, of course. Arizona's Cannabis Kitchen. They got you covered. They're sold at your local dispensary, but you got to go to their website. You got to check out all the products that they have. OGsBrands.com. That's OGEEZ brands.com. Follow them on Instagram as well. You know somebody who might want OGs for Christmas? The perfect stocking stuffer. Also the perfect maybe palate cleanser after Thanksgiving or maybe even before Thanksgiving.
Sure.
You can maybe get in on and just pimp out your Thanksgiving. Always, you can find them at your local dispensary. Got to be 21 years or older. Speaking of which, we got Four Peaks throwing down the watch parties of all watch parties. We've got you set as far as set for your World Cup watch party in less than 10 days from now. You got the World Cup kicking off. 2022, Mexico, U.S. You got some big games on tap. U.S. opens up against Wales. You got Mexico. They've got a big game to open things up as well. You want your spot to watch those games with beer specials, giveaways, guest appearances, and more. Yeah, you got Four Peaks. You can register right now. Just click the link in the show notes, and you can reserve your spot because watch parties are going to fill up quick. You're not going to want to stand in line and then get standing room only. You can get your seat today. $3 kit lifter and Wow Wheat pints. U.S. and Mexico rosters recently dropped, so that's got to have you extra excited. Less than 2 weeks away. Team up with Four Peaks. U.S.-Mexico World Cup matches. 8th Street Pub. Check out the link in the show notes. Register for free. Get yourself some Redbird Lager. Get yourself some Wow Wheat. Enjoy it responsibly. Got to be 21 years or older.
You mentioned it right before the tremendous ad reads. Budda Baker, an all-time Cardinal. It was already penciled in before this season. He's on, in my opinion, a Hall of Fame route. And then you see the emotion from Hard Knocks on Wednesday, and then you hear the news that he's potentially out 2 to 3 weeks, and then you see him on the practice field Friday. And it's like, surely he's not going to try to play Sunday in LA. Surely this is, with the Cardinals, they're so cautious with injury, right? They don't play anybody who doesn't practice. He's not on the inactive list today. He goes out, has a banger of a game, has an interception late in the game. And again, like, we're not here to knock Kyler Murray. We want Kyler Murray to do well and play next week. But it makes you think, Budda forced his way onto the field today. Did he not?
He did. He did. It was like seeing a ghost on Friday. After, Kliff Kingsbury told us guys in the media room earlier this week, said he had 0% chance of playing. 0%. We saw it on Wednesday night on Hard Knocks. You see the high ankle sprain. You see the reports from our friend of the show, Ian Rappaport, saying he's out 2 to 3 weeks.
Yeah.
And then Friday, it's like I'm Batman and I see Raj Al Ghul. I thought I saw him die. I thought he was dead. But he's not. He's out there practicing. He's stretching out. He's looking like a normal Budda Baker. And then we hear today that he's active, and not only is he playing, he's making an impact. He has the pick. He nearly takes it to the house. I mean, Budda Baker's stock is at an all-time high, and you absolutely understand why. DA, what is a guy like that? I mean, DeAndre Hopkins told us that he's the energy of this team. Like they want he is the Arizona Cardinals, and they try to match that as a roster.
Yeah, it's a rarity that you find a player that is what he is on the football field, and that transcends through every aspect of his life. And I'm going to be honest with you guys, after that playoff game last year, what Cam Akers did to him, and for him to come back and not skip a beat, and just as you mentioned, you can't miss with Budda because he's giving nonstop energy, nonstop effort, and nonstop intelligence. He knows what's going on. It's that total, total package of a player. So you just appreciate that. Like, in today's age with, social media, everybody gets butthurt about everything.
They do.
Budda is just a football player. Old school. I mean, undersized. He's not the 6'1". He's not the Adrian Wilson, but he plays like he's Adrian Wilson. He plays like Budda Baker. And a guy that can just go out there and make plays. And we've been, in the Valley, we've been a little bit, I would say, we've been spoiled.
Yeah. Hashtag blessed.
We've had hashtag blessed. You've had Tyrann Mathieu. You've had Adrian Wilson. Shout out R.I.P. Kwame Lassiter.
Yep.
And now you got Budda Baker, who is just doing everything that he can to give Cardinals fans hope. And you can't help as a former player and a fan but respect that.
Leadership will always win out. But leadership with performance definitely goes a lot. It goes much further than you want. Can't say nothing because for a fact he's laying it on the line. He's giving his all, and he's not just. There's guys that just. I told Diaz, we had a bunch of guys in the locker room that cried. Sometimes we need to win. I'm tired of losing. but they weren't always out there on the practice field. They didn't always put it out there on the game. And you watch them in film, you're like, bro, like you just stop it. We know you. Like, but that's the difference with Budda, and I think we can all appreciate that, man. There's when you're a leader and you're being called to be the leader. He's doing it, whether he's winning or losing. He wants to win. He's going to give it 100%. And I think the Cardinals fans, we all recognize that, man, because it's pretty goddamn special.
I want to continue the conversation surrounding this defense, gentlemen, because they gave up some touchdowns in the second half, and the game was well at hand at this point. I'm going to talk about Antonio Hamilton for a second. 11 tackles, 2 passes defense. I thought outside of our DraftKings King of the Game, he was maybe the most impressive player I saw on the field defensively for the Cardinals. Almost had a pick 6 for himself, but just completely blanketed Cooper Kupp. Was obviously the CB1 that Kliff Kingsbury talked about in training camp. Like, you saw it on display today. Journeyman, 28, 29 years old. He was fantastic. And how about rookie Myjai Sanders? Just has the 1 sack, but it went beyond the box score, beyond the stat sheet. Holding penalties. He was all over the field, east and west for the Cardinals. This pass rush that has been non-existent from outside linebackers this year, with all due respect to Victor Dumagaji and Marcus Golden, just not getting it done. And then you've got this third rounder, 41, from Cincinnati, coming in and saying, yeah, I'm not as experienced, but I've got athleticism for days, and I'm not going to let John Wolford sit back in the pocket and get comfortable, and that never happened.
Yeah, I think you're seeing the guys who've earned spots in playing time and snaps finally get that, right?
Yeah.
I think that there was no margin for, there was no, hey, let's wait and see. Let's get the best guys on the field. Let's get the best guys, all 11 guys on the field as much as possible. They're going to make impact plays. And Hamilton, unfortunately, had that freak accident in his kitchen where he had the shrimp, right, and it was the grease fire that went down. And He was out for 4 weeks, and then he comes back and has to kind of like get back into football shape. And now we're seeing what everybody saw in training camp, him earning that starting role. He was supposed to be the CB2 here over Marco Wilson, and he was just fantastic. I know it's Wolford to Kupp, it's not Stafford to Kupp, but I mean, the guy went out there and balled out against his opponent. He won each and every rep, it seemed like, that he had out there. What else can you ask for him?
I mean, that's all you can do as a player to earn respect. And when you win a game, you play well. It is the NFL, and we see how what the advantage of having a serviceable backup can do in Colt McCoy. So you know that it's just some days this game is about matchups. I mean, we talk about Myjai Sanders, we talk about Marcus Golden. It may be a tackle that they're playing that may not do well, strong as shit, but may not do well against speed, right? So Myjai is going to get a lot of reps, and it may be weak, so JYD is going to get a lot of reps. And the game is about matchups, and you just see Vance Joseph week after week putting, I think, the defense in the best position to be successful. They may not execute always, but I think that he always does a good job putting the best players on the field in positions to win, and that's the name of the game. Cardinals got the dub. They did exactly what they were supposed to do against that Rams offense.
It's good comments here in support. I thought Isaiah Simmons played well all over the football. Actually had the tip ball that ended up going to Budda Baker before his interception. Props, according to EZ, to Isaiah Simmons. And Zaven Collins almost had himself an interception. And again, we're not here to belittle, or excuse me, to overstate like the Rams offense. It's been bad this year. It's been bad with Matthew Stafford, right? They're not the same juggernaut team that we saw a year ago. And the Cardinals, they're playing a lot of new players. And I think that's what Cardinal fans can take solace in. If this team is going to struggle, you would rather see them struggle with young players. And the most frustrating part of this slow start for this team is just the staunch commitment on both sides of the ball to not play the youth, to not see what they have. And now to have this kind of stretch with Isaiah Simmons and Zaven and Myjai and Zach Allen continuing to play well and Byron Murphy on the back end, it's like, okay, wherever this season ends, it ends, but you can feel good about this core, Byron coming back, hopefully on a new contract next year, moving forward, whether it's Vance with this defense or a new defensive coordinator, whomever it is, you can feel good about. They have young pieces in place, because there's nowhere worse in the NFL than to be losing with old players, because then you really feel like we don't have a future, we don't have a solution. And today it was like, yeah, Colt McCoy was steering the ship, but it's like, hey, look at Rondale Moore. Second year, finally healthy and putting in a groove and 90-plus yards. Trey McBride now, something we haven't talked about. Zach Ertz goes down, presumably with a knee injury that could keep him out, I'm going to say indefinitely. Was carted off, was crying with teammates, never a good sign. We're not going to jump to conclusions. Kingsbury doesn't know enough after the game. I've already checked Twitter and the reporters out there in L.A. But Trey McBride now has an opportunity. Second-round pick, very similar to Myjai Sanders. Go out there and produce. Had a couple catches today. It gets his sea legs out of him. We were laughing because he kind of fell down at the end of the game. But at least, Bo, he's been playing. He's been blocking. Yeah. Now you got to open up the playbook for a guy at Colorado State who was unguardable.
You hope. Well, you hope. Well, I mean, we'll just see what more playing time, what happens with a guy like Trey McBride. Yeah, hopefully he finds
you got to expect that it's going to get better for him. Yeah, because now he knows he's number one.
Just feed him.
He's number one guy, and the reps say he's been running. He's been number two guy, and whether he's been open or not, he's got Zach Ertz to look at, and the quarterback and him has great rapport. He's always going to kind of find a way to get it to his number one guy, and so. Right now, I'm looking. I have great expectations of what he can bring to the table. He'll get a chance to kind of really face some guys. He'll see how teams try to game plan him if they do or if they don't. And then it's up to our quarterbacks to make the adjustment. But we're in a good spot. I think you said something earlier about playing the young guys, and you've been screaming that for the last 2 years. And then we had to develop some young guys, and we paid for some older guys that ended up still getting hurt. Now we got some young guys that's out there playing, and I'm happy to see where our defense is. I'm happy to see that these young guys are playing. It's actually showing that he actually drafted some talent. He actually brought some guys in that can actually make some plays. But kudos to Vance on using his talent and putting guys in a position. Again, this wasn't a great Rams offense, but who cares? You showed up with him and we whooped your ass. That's what it is. It happens on game day. Yeah. And I think, but the way we won was more impressive because it looked like a complete game.
You never apologize for wins.
No.
All three phases. All three phases today. As DA pointed out, Greg Dortch, even though he's still not getting the offensive snaps that everybody would like to see. I mean, he's averaging over 13 yards per punt return, putting the offense in a good spot, a spot to cash in potentially every time. And then, the defense, this wasn't just a get-right game for the offense, because you're right. This is a defense that surrendered 30-plus points the last 3 games, including the win against the Saints. I mean, that was something where you just needed to have, across the board, this team was able to kind of impose its will on Sean McVay. You've done this once, actually. You've done this once before.
Last year. You've won back-to-back games now.
Yeah, in L.A., we'll call that Arizona West, right, at this point, because they've got a 2-game winning streak there. It was necessary. This was necessary to advance this season instead of having to further say goodbye to 2022.
And I want to talk about Kliff Kingsbury here in the next segment, but I want to talk to you guys about cashing in right now on the Underdog Fantasy app. Bo and I were chatting right before the show. You had a couple legs that didn't hit on Underdog Fantasy. You hate to see that.
I do. Unfortunately, it was due to injury.
Yeah.
I bought insurance, so it's not like I'm going to come away empty-handed.
You strike me as an insurance guy, like buying insurance, just playing it safe.
Just that safety net, right?
Yeah.
Like guarantees and insurance, you slap it on there, and I'm a mark for it. But D-Hop hit, Rondale Moore hit. Unfortunately, Ertz didn't, and Cooper Kupp didn't hit.
I think both those guys hit had they not gone down. It seemed like Ertz was primed for a big day before he was injured.
I felt alive though the entire time. That's what Underdog did for me.
You can cash out at a premium.
Battle the backups.
We like to keep you informed here with Underdog and Cardinal players in particular, but we've got a fantasy show that's fantastic, sponsored by Underdog. You should check out during the week with our guy Shane Diefenbach and company. Listen, sign up with promo code PHNX, and Underdog, get this, is going to double your first deposit up to $100. That's Underdog Fantasy. You got to use the promo code PHNX to get in on the action today. And speaking of action, listen, Cardinals are on a win. Are they going to put together a winning streak in Mexico City? We'll see. But then they go home to play the LA Chargers. And I want to see that stadium not in baby blue, but in cardinal red. And I want everybody to fill up that stadium because, hot damn, they win next week. You're going to be feeling good potentially about their chances to get back to 500. And you can get seats right now for a premium on the Game Time app. Save up to 60% on tickets when you buy them last minute. I know friends and family that have used Game Time, and it is significantly less than all those other third-party vendors out there that want to charge you an arm and a leg for fees and tickets, etc. You want to go support the Cardinals against Justin Herbert and company, do it using the Game Time app. It's the best way, by the way, to support us is buying your tickets through the link in the description below. Thank you, producer Emma, for that. Grab them right now on Game Time. Hope to see you there. All right, gentlemen. Kliff Kingsbury today. We had speculated all week, should the Cardinals lose? And I picked them to lose. Bo did. Frank picked them to win. Kudos to you, my man.
Thank you,
Pretty
sir.
much nailed this. Wait, you had 28-14?
28. 14 or 28-7.
27-17.
Great guess, Frank.
You know what? That's what you do when you're on.
Frank is Mr. Positive.
Peaks, brother.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, 3-4 peaks lined up on the Friday show, and he was on the Kliff bandwagon. Now the question is, will everybody else be on the Kliff bandwagon? Because we asked questions about, could he be fired on Monday? Could he be fired after Mexico City? I think there's no way now, Bo Brock, after winning today, no matter how it looks on Monday night, I think he's making it to the Chargers at least.
Yeah, I think you're right. And I think maybe even beyond that, he's probably cashed in for at least the rest of the season, and then they'll reevaluate as far as how this team performs down the stretch. And yeah, that's what we talked about on Friday, Frank. I mean, it's pretty much this. There was more to it than just the Arizona Cardinals moving their record to 4-6. It was beating McVay. It was getting a divisional win, going to 1-3 in your division, and just having a chance, but having guys show up, I know it's a victory Monday, but show up Wednesday really with kind of their lunch pail and ready to advance potentially to 5-6, a big divisional game on tap. I mean, there was more at stake than, the Cardinals fans that were ready to just quit on this team, right?
Yeah.
And I thought that's what a win just changes the perception of a lot of things, and it's big no matter when it comes.
Guys, I think it gives this team, this fan base, hope. Mm-hmm. I mean, we didn't have much of that coming into this game. I mean, given the financial commitment by the Cardinals to Kyler Murray, the offseason Kliff, and you just didn't see that type of offensive performance, right? Like, no one expected the defense to be anything, right? It was all contingent upon this offense doing major things. It hasn't done that. It looked good today against a Rams team that was okay defensively, but they are what their record is. I mean, they were 3-5, coming into this game.
Yeah.
And it wasn't like we were going, they were going against Philly or they were going against, and I don't want to discredit anything that they did, but I just want to keep things in perspective.
Of course.
That, that they played well against a bad team. And what it gives you is that you're not the worst. Can you be better? And how are we going to make this consistent? And I think you saw a lot of opportunities today to allow this team to be consistent.
Sean McVay is this team's daddy, or at least he's been this team's daddy since he came to LA. Mm-hmm. And anytime, if you're Michael Bidwell and your head coach can get a win against Sean McVay when Steve Wilkes couldn't and Bruce Arians could never do it, that has to mean something. Now, if it's in lieu of a losing season, maybe it means less, but it doesn't fall on deaf ears. You've got 2 more matchups with San Francisco, a team you swept last year. It's an outside chance. Maybe you can go 500 in the division, but that's got to start next week. But as far as Kliff Kingsbury goes, I think a lot of Cardinal fans are confused, including myself, on how to feel about this. We're excited about the win. We want them to do well, but it's also like, will this give Michael Bidwell pause on potentially looking at other options? And is this a false hope, or is this a fake win or fake narrative? I don't know where I'm going with this, but basically it's like, does this win mean anything in the grand scheme of things? Cardinal fans on Twitter right now are DMing me, asking me that. I think it's a good question. It's like, you always take the win. We want to root for this team to have success. But if it means Kliff Kingsbury is going to be around next year, Bo, that's also not what Cardinal fans want to hear. Is there a big difference between, let's say, 4 or 5 wins or 7 and 8 wins if it means that you're not keeping Kliff?
Yeah, because you have to look at the overall picture, right? I mean, this is a team that went, from 3 wins to 5 wins to 8 wins to 11 wins. If they take a step back, I mean, is it one bad season and you're gone? We have to look at the whole as far as the team, as far as your quarterback, your huge investment. Did Kyler Murray take a tremendous step back? I mean, that's what they're going to have to look at the end of the season. But what this does what it does is you have to pause that, right? You have to go, Johnny, you have to change your relationship status with Kliff Kingsbury on Facebook from single to it's complicated right now.
Well, I love what I just saw in the chat from Terry and Ron. Ron basically saying, nothing gets the heat off a Kliff like a win, and I agree with that. Kyler's got some heat now.
But guys, I would say that this season or Kliff's success is contingent upon Kyler's growth. If Kyler doesn't get better throughout these remaining games, I don't think that we see Kliff Kingsbury as a coach.
But Michael Bidwell looks at Kyler Murray and says, "Well, Kyler, I'm paying you $230 million. I gave Kliff an extension. Like, Kliff won without you. You got to pick it up, Kyler. Let's go."
So I mean, that could be another way that you play it. Is Kyler can you put him to the market and load up on trades?
Johnny,
you tweeted that earlier this week, so it's one or two things. It's Kliff or Kyler.
Stop.
I'm going to say this.
Kliff or Kyler, guys. I mean, that's what it comes down to.
I'm not
Today's win.
They win, they keep them, Frank. I just want to be clear. If they win, they keep them. They continue to win. They progress. They're going to keep Kliff and Kyler for another year. If they don't, then who knows?
Today's win, if he goes back to the table and him and VJ is in there sharing film and showing Mike.
Yeah.
He's showing Mike, hey, Mike, look.
Are they at Kliff's house or VJ's house?
There's probably at your boys over at in Paradise Valley.
We saw his viewing room.
But I'm saying, right. So this if I'm Kliff, this is what I'm doing. I'm saying, hey, check this out. I'm making it work. This is my offense. I call these plays. Look at this is what I've been trying to get done. And over the last couple of weeks, he's probably been showing Mike, I call these plays, but look, this is what Kyler's doing. So the question, and I'll pose this to the panel and say this here. Is Kliff showing us that his system is more not an RPO system, and it's more just he needs a standard pocket passing quarterback that can sit in the pocket and kind of manage it from that standpoint, compared to having the nuances of an RPO system that it seems like if you're really gonna get into the RPO system, then you better look at Baltimore. You better look at Philly and figure it out, because that's RPO at its highest.
You can't run that with Kyler.
And
why though?
He's too little. That becomes, if you try to do what they're doing with, I mean, even Josh Allen taking off today, but Jalen and Lamar are just more physically imposing. They are bigger human beings and are built to sustain that.
Okay, fair enough. And then my argument would be, where it's not RPO, but why did Russell Wilson be so successful at being under the center? And they're very similar.
Great. You should be copying whatever they did in Seattle during their heyday.
1,000%. And you saw a little bit of that today with Colt McCoy.
That's almost like what the perfect marriage of what this is what they did in Seattle. It's crazy to say, with Pete Carroll and Russell Wilson, when Russell was putting up 40 TD seasons, where you can still have a dynamic offense. Goodness, we saw it enough in Arizona when they were beating our ass every year at State Farm Stadium. But then also under center, running the football, with Marshawn Lynch and company, But I don't know if that can happen right now. That seems like an off-season thing.
Yeah, it's way easier said than done, and it goes back to some of the things that we've already talked about with what you hope Kyler can learn from watching this game from the sidelines due to the hamstring issue. It's like with what we've seen from Russell Wilson and the shade that's been thrown from his former organization about wearing a wristband, and where they've had some success as far as team first and what guys willing to do whatever it takes to win. And then you've got a guy that says, I'll watch 3 times the film. I'll work out on an international flight for 4 of the 8 hours. It's like, well, are you really willing to do what it takes to win? Are you willing for your star to maybe take a back seat and watch the tape of what made Colt McCoy in this offense successful? Are you willing to do that? Or do you want to run things how you feel like will work for you best? How you're going to play maybe a little too much hero ball when you could play more team ball?
Look, it's going to it gets interesting the more. Like you're kind of hoping that does Kyler hamstring heals fast too? Or can it wait another week?
I don't think Kyler. There's any way Kyler doesn't play Monday.
And I agree with you on that too.
Kyler got different hamstrings than Colt McCoy.
Hold on.
That's all. I'm just saying, he got a little bit more tread. He got a little bit more. What's the word I'm looking for, Frank? Fast twitch.
He got fast twitch
in comparison to Colt McCoy. Colt a dog now. He done earned the respect of everybody to know really that it was whatever the injury was, to come back, look like it was dire, and to come back. I was thinking in my mind, what am I going to talk about in the show? I'm like, well, shit, at least he went out guns a-blazing. No pun intended. You know what I mean? He went out for slinging it. Yeah, for Colt. For Colt.
Well, I mean, we didn't even talk about A.J. Green came back from the dead and had a touchdown. And he hadn't caught a ball since what, week 6? You've got Rondale Moore and DeAndre Hopkins getting a combined 24 targets.
He still didn't get it to Robbie Anderson.
Well,
did Robbie play today?
Yeah, he was in there a little bit.
Man, he's quiet.
We're going to chalk that one up, maybe with the Rodney Hudson trade as losses. But you know who wasn't a loss today? That was our DraftKings king of the game, ladies and gentlemen. Colt McCoy, 26 for 37, 238 and a touchdown. But goes beyond the box score, as you guys watched in the game. Methodical leadership, distribution of the football, taking care of the football, command of the huddle, respect. And I think the Cardinal fans can take solace in knowing at the end of the day, he's under contract. He's going to be this team's backup, probably until he retires, frankly. And they know if Kyler Murray goes down,
you're not it.
that's what you got to do. Do we want to see Colt McCoy, and this is my opinion, and not to rain on the parade, for 17 games stretched out? No, we saw that in Cleveland, right? It didn't go well. But Colt McCoy off the bench as a DH, a switch hitter, get us a win, get us a hit, keep it simple. That's what he's paid to do. That's what the best backups to do. That's what once upon a time, Drew Stanton did with this team, with Bruce Arians. But I think Colt got a higher upside. It hurts me when I see, because we've seen this time and time again, and we've got like Geno being the outlier this year. If Colt McCoy is under center for 17 games, like it looks different week to week, doesn't it?
Yeah, I mean, you can game plan. Opposing defenses probably have a little bit easier day or week game planning Colt McCoy. Now we've seen three very successful games with Colt McCoy, and one where the Carolina Panthers were very disruptive and game wrecked that thing from the very jump. And we have a full career of Colt McCoy coming here. And I mean, I'm not going to say that maybe he hasn't turned the corner as far as where he didn't have success before Arizona, but what is it? John Clayton, the late great John Clayton of ESPN, said famously, like, a good backup quarterback can get you 3 wins, but he also gets you 3 losses. And I think that he's the quintessential, if not the top backup in the league. And it's great that he's on your roster because he can come in and he can win you a football game, and you love that, right?
Yeah, he did.
But as far as quarterback controversies, I'm not ready to do that. But I saw a couple, Budda player of the game. This was probably the toughest one we had all year as far as picking who our DraftKings king of the game was. I mean, you look at up and down. I mean, DeAndre Hopkins, 14 targets, 10 catches, 98 yards. Rondale Moore had 9 catches for 94 yards. You had a fill-in kicker, your 4th of the season, come in there and not miss a kick. He was huge.
God, that pisses me off, though, too. Doesn't it piss you off that we had to watch Dirt Muskirt earlier this year?
Yeah, because of the negligence from the GM position as far as putting him out there.
Literally anybody's been better than who you picked earlier that cost us games. Cost us to win against, unbeaten Philadelphia?
Yeah.
You should have beaten the Eagles. But I digress. He was fantastic today. I mean, they was their cleanest. You talked about it. This game really never felt in doubt outside. You got through the second quarter. They had that touchdown, and then what should have been the scoop and score from Watt. From that moment forward, all 3 phases, it never felt in doubt.
Cardinal fans enjoy this win. Like, enjoy it. Like, it's just we just been through the mud, man. And then watching just some bad football. I mean, really bad football. Penalty-wise, special team, offense, and defense. And, of course, not as much defense because defenses, they battled their butt off, and they've kept us in most of the games. But this win right here, man, is a sweet victory because this could have really got ugly if this was a loss. And today's conversation would have been, fire
really
this
bad.
guy. We lost
Really
we lost to backups. Here we are. We can't overcome the Rams. And, whatever happened to coaching and making adjustments and all those things that you would have said, you don't have to say because you saw it. You saw us make adjustments. You saw us change the offense. You saw a quarterback come in and just literally do what Kliff has been asking to be done, and he's taking a lot of the blunt, a lot of the heat, so you'll have a lot of good comments this week. And wins make you feel better, so enjoy the win. I just want to let you guys know, enjoy the win because it really feels good not to be talking, from another perspective.
I don't like talking about losing, but we had to do it too much this year. Here's what I do want to talk about. There are, let me count them up here, 7 games left on the schedule. This team's 4-6. I venture to say you win 5 of 7, 9-8. You put yourself in a position to go to the playoffs. Now, before everybody freaks out, go and look at the schedule, right? There are some winnable games, and then there are some games where the Cardinals are probably not going to be favored to be competitive at all. We have seen crazier things have happened in the NFL, and you cannot dispute that the talent is there. We saw the Cardinals were more talented than the Rams today. And they're going to get Hollywood Brown back, and hopefully they get a couple offensive linemen back. DJ Humphries didn't even play today. Their defense could be turning a corner to play some of their better football of the year. We'll see what happens with Kyler Murray. But, Bo, I feel like it's too soon to say, let's do a mock draft. Let's have Will Anderson come on down to the desert.
Let's stop
7 more games. You got a little bit of a margin for error now. You can win some games and be in the mix.
Yeah, hit the pause button, put down the sticks on your mock draft for now.
Thank God.
It's an important Monday Night Football game going on that the Cardinals sure as hell don't want to look like fools on primetime TV against a very, very stout 49ers team. So that's very important. And as far as going forward those next 7 games, what's most important is preparation and execution from this Cardinals team, because we saw today, even against an inferior opponent, that when you do that, you're a very dangerous team. Yeah. Very dangerous team. So I'm here. Like Terry, huge win. Absolutely. I see everybody in the chat. Everybody's killing it right now. It was a big W for this franchise. I need to see that Colt McCoy king of the game. He kind of looked like an Archie Comics character a little bit. Did he? I mean, guys usually look pretty cool with the crown.
I'm going to tell you right now, with the way he played and the way the defense played, I think they beat Stafford if Stafford plays today. I think it's probably closer. It's probably a one-possession game in the fourth quarter.
Does Kupp have -1 yard on the game?
But
Johnny, stop it. Let's just enjoy the win and just move on to
Stafford's immobile.
If we're fifth, we'd all be faded, bro.
Yeah.
We'd all be
I
faded.
like hypotheticals when we don't have to talk about it anymore.
Yeah.
But here's what I do want to talk about. So I had a shitty day on DraftKings, not because of DraftKings. They sent me.
Had a great hair day, though.
I appreciate that. I couldn't hide it under our cap today. So we got to let the flow rock out. We'll see how long this lasts. But I didn't last long on DraftKings. They gave me some early Christmas presents today. I'm always like, oh, what do I want to dabble on? And then I get, boom, 50% profit boost this morning. So I said, I got to do this. I went 0 for 3. I was in the mix, though, and it kept those early games interesting because, frankly, I was a little concerned watching the Cardinal games. So I said, I got to spice some shit up. But, I'll trade an 0 for 3 day on DraftKings if my Cardinals get the dub. You can have some fun on DraftKings, too. New customers can make any $5 NBA moneyline bet. We got some NBA action tonight. Get $200 if your team wins. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app. Use that promo code PHNX. That's promo code PHNX on the DraftKings Sportsbook app. Minimum age and eligibility restrictions apply. See show notes for details. My DraftKings pick of the week, by the way, gentlemen, I believe I had the under in the Titans-Broncos game, which hit by at least 10 points, which was fantastic. Not fantastic for our friends at DNVR as the Broncos lost yet again. Broncos, by the way, play the Cardinals in December. Can't wait for that one. But good for your boy and my DraftKings pick of the week. All right, gentlemen, looking ahead now, we got Hard Knocks on tap. We got the Cardinals next week on Monday Night Football for what I think is unequivocally going to be the game of the year, for better or worse. Bo Brock, how does this team build off of this win, and do they do it with Kyler Murray?
Yeah, it's going to be a big week of practice for this team. I think that as far as health, outside of Zach Ertz, they probably came out unscathed. We'll see what Colt McCoy's status is going forward because like Kyler Murray last week, looked like a hamstring injury in this game, and it's just like rolling your ankle in hoops. Sometimes you can just play right away after it.
We saw Kyler's hamstring last week. Right. He played through it.
Exactly. And then the next day, and then the next couple days, that's when it becomes sore and maybe you can't go. I think that it's important, and you want your QB1 to play in prime time in the biggest game of the year, potentially evening your record. I'm not evening your record, but to move your record to 5-6. That would be huge.
Well, they beat the Niners last year with Colt McCoy. That was that.
And with Kyler.
And with Kyler. But, yeah. I mean, Colt McCoy had the better of the two games late in the year. How much does that go into your thought process, DA, if you're like Kliff Kingsbury and you're like, well, he played really well. Should I continue rolling with house money? Or if Kyler looks like Kyler this week, I need to play my franchise quarterback?
I mean, if Kyler is available, you give him the opportunity to play. I mean, That's why you're coaching. That's why you made that investment. And that's why we, not a minimum amount of money, but that's why you pay Colt backup money. But you look at what you did against the Rams, and can we build upon that? I would say playing against a great defense like the 49ers, which they have, what they're going to do is expose a lot of weaknesses and their and their offensive ability to run the ball. We talk about the issues that the Cardinals have defensively against the rush or covering stout tight ends. They could run the damn ball, and they got a pretty good-ass tight end in Kittles, right? And defensively, they got some problems over there. So I think this is going to be a great test for the Arizona Cardinals, but the heart that they showed today, their ability to have 4 backups in there in that offensive line, Colt McCoy, for his ability just to execute, be efficient, make good decisions, and lead this team down the football field, everything that you wanted to see. And hopefully Kyler, taking a step back, he could appreciate, this offense, running it at a high level, and learn from Kliff. And I saw in one of the chats, it was like, maybe, Kyler's not coachable and it's a toxic relationship. He can't take criticism. I think it was from Blaine or I think, one of the comments. But I hopefully, Bo, we keep going back to this. Like, yes, everything about this win was great, but we know what this offense can be with a, elite dynamic quarterback. And I think that's what the fans, some of the frustration is from. Because we haven't gotten that this year, and to have this offense go in there and battle against the Rams like they did was, inspiring.
It shouldn't take Colt McCoy, Frank Sanders, to unlock this offense. Like, you've had Kyler Murray in-house. He's been with you since April of 2019. Kliff Kingsbury, figure it out. Make it functional, right?
I agree with you. It shouldn't take that, man. it's a hit or miss situation because I think like when you watch the game plans that we've been putting together when Kyler's there, it's been the same.
Yep.
And then one week when we played New Orleans, it was a totally different. We get D Hops back and it's like a totally different offense.
Then you went back.
And then we went back to
two games later.
Right. And so it's just one of those things. Then we come out and play the Rams with another quarterback and it changes again. And so I think that's
one meme. Oh my God.
It's like, what are we doing, right? I think that's the go ahead.
And I want to get to a comment here. AZ Cardinals, stop hating on Kyler Murray. Well, every week we are in support of Kyler Murray and really have put it in spite of Kliff Kingsbury. And today, Kliff Kingsbury went out and beat a division rival, a backup versus backup. I mean, McVay got to pick his backup. Like, Cardinals picked Colt McCoy, McVay picked John Wolford. So we're going to go with McVay at face value there. And he beat him and pretty much embarrassed them all 4 quarters today to the tune of the Rams season might be lost now. The Cardinals very much alive now. And so I think there was a lot of contention, Kyler Murray opting not to play. So now we're challenging both Kyler and Kliff moving forward. Like, we need to fix the common denominator here, Bo, because we're missing something.
Yeah, you have to be very humble in your approach as far as the offense through the first 9 weeks. It didn't look right.
No.
And then for 1 week, you saw a team, not just the offense, but the team perform at its highest level of the season. You got to say, well, what's the difference here? How can I be part of the solution? How can I get in there and operate differently? But like TA said, you can hope that as much as you want. It's like dealing with your kid. You can put them and give them all the tools for success, but are they going to put them to good use, right?
Yeah, I mean, and it's a hope. And you don't know. And we've seen Colt play at different times. And I mean, just reading some of the chats, I mean, they're going in, obviously stick up for, Kyler, or Kyler isn't going to thrive in this offense. I mean, what you had, the best ability we have as humans is the ability to adapt. If some shit ain't working, you got to figure it out, move another direction, and figure out a way that does work. I'll say to the AZ Cards fan, I'll say this: Kyler gets paid roughly $50 million, per year, right?
Yeah.
Just rounding up. We'll say rounding up. The expectations of getting paid $50 million a year is to show up pretty much every week. Even if you have a bad game, it's like he played his ass off.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? He played well with $50 million. And when you don't do that, that's what fans are like, yo, hey, what's going on? But then when Kliff, the reason why Kyler and Kliff were, married together, that doesn't work. But then you see the backup come in and be efficient, then you're going to have a natural question of, hey, well, why didn't this work last week? Well, why couldn't we do this with Kyler? That's just natural. No one's hating. No one's trying to point the finger. We're just trying to evaluate and siphon through the process. Like, hey, hopefully they learn from this game and do what they did with, with Colt, with Kyler, because this offense can do major things.
Could this be the best thing to happen to Kyler Murray?
I think so. I think it's Kyler Murray, not a wake-up call. I think Kyler Murray is more self-aware than we give him credit for, and I think – first of all, he's got a great relationship with Colt McCoy. For those that don't know, they are lockstep. Bo, you're at practice every day. You see them. They're close. When Kyler got his extension, Colt's heckling him from the crowd that day, asking if he's going to be at walkthroughs or OTAs or whatever it was. They have a great relationship.
Guys.
And I think Colt can go to Kyler and just say, hey, what are you saying?
T-Dactyl with the dang. It's almost like studying works or something.
Not working for Russell Wilson.
No. Kyler's got to be better. And he knows that. And here's the thing. I think he will be. I think he will be.
We said it before. The game plan for Kyler. The game plan for Kyler, not just offensively, but the defensive side of what other teams do, is totally different than what your boy saw today. That's just what it is. And he presents a different problem that most teams don't have to. When you got Colt, you don't have to worry about him running, but then you saw that he had a little bit of running ability. That's not the same as him and Kyler. Kyler's going to grab 30 to 40 yards to run. He could just do some stuff, and that's the special part. But today we saw something that was like, it was effective and efficient. And I think we can all appreciate that. This is going to be a good little conversation piece until they play next Monday, or until we find out who, Kyler's going to be starting quarterback and Coach's going to be the backup. But I think the idea is that, it is a good thing for him to watch and look and see what am I not doing? Can I get the ball out of my hand a lot faster? But again, I say this respectfully. I'm going to go back and watch the game, and I want to see how the front line how the front line played differently than they would have played it versus Kyler. Everyone else has been in a wide technique. Today it was not that, and they stunt, they dogged, they twisted, they did everything they were supposed to do. But our O-line just held them at bay. Something that something that maybe what Budda said or some of the leaders said made sense to these young cats and got these guys to go out and play harder, extra harder, and did something that they would, just did their job, but did it more effective versus one of the best D lines in the game. And I think that is the part, you can't really take that away. Competition, my man said, it's supposed to bring, it's supposed to make you better. And I think that we saw our guys rise to that level of competition. And again, when you go out and be effective, I think that's the part where it doesn't matter who you're playing, because you're doing your job and you're able to do it effectively. And this conversation with Kyler and Colt, that's going to wash itself out. But I think we got our team where they can identify a true leader in Budda. Like, this is the dog. When he say shit, I'm going to follow that. Colt. If Colt says something, there's nothing wrong with that. But it's nothing wrong with it. And I think that's the part where, you get to look at the guys and say, man, like, I remember there was a moment in time when it clicked for us and when we weren't losing no more, and it felt like we was out playing. We bust our ass, and we lost a lot of games. Saul saw it, but we fought to the end, to the death. And maybe we might have came back, but sometimes we didn't. And I think that's the part where, you're watching our young guys and guys having to assume positions that you weren't the starter when you got here. You weren't supposed to be the starter, but now you're the starter. And I think that's the part we can watch our guys kind of get better.
There are two things that are undeniable. One, Budda Baker. As far as the leader of this team, it's not Kyler, it's not DeAndre Hopkins, it's not J.J. Watt, it's not the guys that we thought going into this season. It's Budda Baker, right? But also what's undeniable is Kyler can't run from his performance from his backup quarterback. I just don't think it's undeniable.
It's true.
Not in today's game.
No, but I mean, and it was a way to win a football game against a bad team, but also set an example for the guy that you need to be to truly have success that you just locked in for. Through 2027, right?
2026. You're making the point for people who said do not extend Kyler yet. He hasn't earned it. If we're having this conversation, and I love Kyler more than anybody, and I've seen what this franchise has tried it out a quarterback before him, but it is an uneasy feeling to say a week, whatever this is, week 11 performance, a week 10 performance with a backup quarterback has to light a fire under your franchise quarterback. I don't want to be in that spot.
But you also got to do it without one, having to bench him, and two, getting the dub. I mean, that's something that you don't usually get the opportunity to do. I mean, sometimes franchises have to make tough decisions and bench guys. I'm glad it didn't come to that. Now you can have an opportunity to learn from something and improve something, especially with a guy that you have a $99 million dead cap for next season. He ain't going anywhere.
He's not being traded.
It's an opportunity for him now. What he's going to do with it, that's going to be huge to see. I can't wait to see the Hard Knocks to see how this team prepared for this week. I think it's going to be really, really fascinating.
HB playing this week?
Hollywood Brown is eligible to come off the IR. I think we'd all be surprised if he played. The most likely scenario has always been after the bye, which is after the Charger game. But who knows? I mean, you watch today and you're like, yeah, they have enough receivers. Rondale Moore plays like that. Shit, it's just like they should be able to make do. And what an opportunity for Kyler Murray this week on the national stage to quiet his haters. You guys have an opportunity, by the way. Like this video now. Helps share this video around. Subscribe to PHNX Sports on YouTube, follow us on Twitter, and most importantly, subscribe to the PHNX Cardinals podcast. Leave us a 5-star review wherever you get your podcasts. We are back at it this week in preparation for the Mexico City Extravaganza Monday Night Football game taking place a week from tomorrow, 4 p.m. PHNX Cardinals Live, mañana, with the crew. For Bo Brock, Damien Anderson, Frank Sanders, I'm Johnny Venerable. Enjoy this Cardinal dub, and we'll see you tomorrow.